purposes. So even if we had the money, we wouldn't get through those hoops to qualify to get them.
So regardless of cost, we couldn't get them even if we had the money to get them?
No.
In this video, we're going to be taking a look at trial transcripts in Scotland. More so the transcripts from the Luke Mitchell trial, which ran from November 2004 until January 2005. We're going to be taking a look at the law surrounding transcripts in Scotland, their availability and claims that have been made publicly in regards to this subject. In October 2023, campaigners were informed that transcripts from Luke Mitchell's trial were actually available to the public. Despite this being confirmed by the court itself, campaigners had always been told by Dr Sandra Lean, a campaign leader and advocate for Luke's innocence, that they weren't available. When Dr Lean found out that members of the public were discussing purchasing the transcripts, she took to addressing the issue on a podcast with Bob Ruff.
Okay, the first question is not actually on the list because it only just came up in the last couple of days. And that was, you remember at the very beginning, you asked about the availability of transcripts in Scotland and the cost.
Yes.
And I found just the other day, the transcripts of criminal proceedings in Scotland order, which specifies that the court will only allow release of transcripts if satisfied that the person requesting the transcript is a person who falls within a specified class of person and intends to use it for a specified purpose only.
Dr Lean is referring to legislation from the Transcripts of Criminal Proceedings Scotland Order 1993. This, however, is not the most recent piece of legislation. The 1995 Act, which came into existence 2 years later, allows anyone who is not a convicted person to apply for transcripts from any proceedings held in open court. Criminologist Dr Lean explained that she just found the 1993 Act the other day. Let's have a listen to what she says and how it compares to both the 1995 Act and what the court itself have said about the availability of these transcripts.
Okay.
So it then goes on to list who are specified people and what are specified purposes. And we are not specified people, and our purposes are not specified purposes.
So regardless of cost, we couldn't get them even if we had the money to get them?
No. So to give you an idea, specified person, specified class of person, the prosecutor, any person convicted, any other person named in or immediately affected by any order made by the court, or any person authorised to act on behalf of any person.
Around the same time of the podcast, some calls were made to the High Court in Edinburgh to confirm some of these details. The court was asked, can anyone apply for transcripts, or does it have to be a specified individual in a specific position? The court responded, no, anyone can apply with the exception of the convicted person. They cannot apply. They have since elaborated that a convicted person may apply under specific circumstances. The only information which cannot be obtained is anything considered closed court evidence. Luke Mitchell's trial was open court.
That falls within it. So there's two of them that we could use, but even if we do, we don't fit specified purpose.
The purpose being, for it to be shared publicly.
They're going to go, that's not a specified purpose. So it's all things like the Court of Human Rights, an appeal for mercy, that sort of thing. Those are the specified purposes. So even if we had the money, we wouldn't get through those hoops to qualify to get them. But in terms of money, it costs about £110 per hour of transcription.
Okay.
To get transcripts. Now, there are well over 200 hours of evidence in Luke's case. Transcripts take about 3 hours to transcribe per hour of evidence. So we're way over the £60,000 mark. And given the things are right now, I would much rather that money was spent on getting these samples tested.
Transcription costs are noted on the court's website, but in an email they did elaborate. As a guideline, transcripts cost £91.23 per hour of court time, or £1.52 a minute plus VAT, and this is for a 15 working day turnover. The trial ran from the 18th of November 2004 till the 19th of January 2005, with the 20th of January 2005 to the 21st being a day of deliberation and verdict. Bar the last 2 days, I have worked out that this is about 40 days of evidence, with about 5 hours of evidence per day. So a very rough estimate would be £21,895.20. Again, a very rough estimate, that wasn't a direct quote. What's worth noting is if transcripts already exist, as in if the evidence has already been transcribed, you don't need to pay transcription costs. You only need to pay a copying fee, which is far lower. But even at its most expensive, and even if the evidence hadn't been transcribed, and Dr. Lean will explain that it has been transcribed already, at least some of it has been, and we know that to be true, it still wouldn't cost £60,000, and the court did confirm this.
Then going after transcripts that we can't get anyway. So I just thought I would throw that one in to begin.
And so do I understand then that then even Luke's defense does not have the transcripts?
No, we have probably about 80% of the transcripts, but we are bound with this price we use them for.
Right. So you can't share them, but you have them for him to use in his legal defense.
That's why I've been able to quote from transcripts verbatim. But like I said last time, if I were to put the whole transcript up, that's where we cross the line, unfortunately.
Whether the transcripts have been quoted from verbatim or not is another matter. But in terms of full transcripts being publicised, they are public documents, and Luke's trial was around 10 years after the 1995 Act came into existence. While it isn't anyone's place to comment on what Dr. Lean should do with her copy of the transcripts, the ones that she does have, her telling members of the public that they are not entitled to obtain their own copies seems disingenuous, and I'd question why this was needed. A person who purchases transcripts in Scotland becomes what's known as the data controller. This was confirmed by the court, and the Information Commissioner's Office again confirmed this. Full transcripts can be shared online as long as personal and sensitive data is redacted.
I want to go to what has got to have been the biggest non-story of the last 6 months, and that's the transcripts. I've been accused of going into hiding. I've been accused of lying. I've been accused of hiding. I've been accused of everything under the sun. It was the biggest non-story ever. I said in the book in 2018 that what came out at trial was not the truth, and that there were many, many other documents that proved that that wasn't the truth, and those had never been in the public domain. That's what I was putting in the public domain in the book. So I don't think I could have been any clearer than that. So all this nonsense surrounding the transcripts, I'm not engaging with it. I haven't engaged with it. I've got nothing to prove as far as that's concerned.
Dr. Lean talks about her book here, but since the release of the transcripts, it's obvious that information has been omitted or doesn't quite tie in with what's in the book. There is a separate video on that. It's interesting that she also says that she hasn't engaged with any of the transcript nonsense. Where then did the need to tell listeners of Bob Ruff's podcast that they weren't available come from? None of those who have since purchased the transcripts or who initially discussed purchasing them approached Dr. Lean for advice or even mentioned them to her.
Now, one of the things that came up was the cost and the difficulty of getting these transcripts, and a claim that I had lied about that. On May 23rd, 2023, the Scottish Justice Committee, which is a cross-party group looking at issues of justice, held a meeting, a discussion about the difficulty and the costs of people obtaining transcripts. And they quoted specifically the rule about having to have good reason and the court having to agree that that was good reason. I didn't have time to put the link in, I'll put it below later. So if they were having that discussion in May 2023, what changed? And when did it change? Because I'm not thinking the Justice Committee would have been sitting there believing that this was all, really, really difficult and really expensive, but actually it wasn't. It was easy. So there's something going on there that we don't know about. So that was May 2023, and I will link the report below so that you can see it for yourselves. I acted on the advice I was given throughout. I was always told I personally can't put out the transcripts or the statements or anything like that. That's always been the legal advice to me, and that's the advice I've taken. I'm not taking the demand of some random on Facebook over the legal advice I've been given on that front. So that's where we're at with that.
It's not clear who has demanded that she release the transcripts that she has in her possession. Again, the people who have purchased the transcripts that are available online so far have never made that demand or even contacted Dr. Lean in regards to this matter. She also states there's something going on here that we don't know about. It's unclear what she's suggesting by this. In 2023, at the time of the Justice Committee's event, and in the years prior to this, the 1995 Act, again which states that any member of the public can obtain a copy of a transcript from an open court trial in Scotland, has been available to view online. It's easy enough to find, and it's also interesting that she was able to find the 1993 legislation online so easily, but not the 1995 Act. She also stated that she'd always been advised legally that they couldn't be made public, but at the beginning of the interview she said that she just looked up the legislation the other day. But it isn't required to take some random person on Facebook's word for it when the legislation is available online and has been since 1995. I wanted to make this video so that people do know that they have the right to access public documents such as trial transcripts in Scotland. When misinformation is shared and it does have the potential to affect people's rights, it should be addressed. As always, don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong for wanting to do your own research, and if they do, watch out for that red flag. Thanks for watching.